So, Aileen Wuornos, we're going to talk about her today in regards to the justice system then and the justice system today. I'm going to go through what happened with her because I think it's quite important, especially with some of the things that are going on these days. So, if you know Aileen Wuornos, you know that, well, she was media really didn't help her case at all. She was labelled as the first female serial killer. And also, obviously they made a film on her story, which, as you know, is called Monster, and Charlize Theron plays Aileen Wuornos, and Christina Ricci plays her lover in the actual movie. And so anyway, with Aileen Wuornos, she literally had a lawyer that she had found on the TV, a cheesy advert, if you need help or you need to be represented, call this number, like sort of like in, if you know Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul, it was kind of like that. So, this guy said that they were going to, play the defense angle, and that, he would get her off, she wouldn't be obviously completely off, but what I mean by that is, she wouldn't be serving, kind of a whole life in jail, maybe. I'm not even entirely sure. I think he even had trouble convincing himself that, to be honest. So she was apprehended in 1990. Her trial begins in 91. And it was 7 people that she shot, 7 males, point blank range with a handgun. And if you see the first trial, what you see is her, when she's put on the stand, you see her break down, and in detail, she's asked to explain how it is that it came to her using this weapon. So, she's saying that, these men were very aggressive with her, trying to make her do things she didn't want to do, so it ended up in the point of her being, pleading defense with these men. Hence why, she shot him. So, anyway, the trial does go on, and, the media really didn't help. And if I'm honest, while she was going through the trial, the first trial, while she was, like you see, her being in and out in handcuffs, getting in police cars, being transported to the trial and whatever, the media made her look 10 times worse than she actually was. I mean, don't get me wrong, if you actually have seen the official documentaries of her, and even the movie, and, even in books or what have you, she has been through a lot. People were popping out of the woodwork because, because they had simply labelled her as the first female serial killer. She had got major media coverage all over the world. So everybody wanted a piece of the pie, even people that didn't want anything to do with her, like her actual family that disowned her, treated her like shit. Supposedly her fucking brother had sex with her. Do you know what I mean? And she was young, she was tiny. She went through a lot. She was pregnant at a very, very young age. She wasn't looked after, like I say, by her family, parents, brother, whatever. She was homeless from a young age too. And like I say, there's always a reason behind everything. People don't just act. It means the intentions are there, somewhere. One day you don't just wake up angry and go on a rampage and kill people. Or, I don't know, it could be that could go for anything, you know, even for things that aren't like that. So other things. But anyway, so she then, once the trial was over, the verdict came in and she was guilty on 6 counts of murder. And following that, she got 4 motherfucking death penalties. Now, never in my time of knowing all of these serial killers, knowing how many people have been exonerated, knowing all the things that we know, have I ever heard of such bull in all my life. 4 death penalties. And that, you know, is ridiculous. You know, it's not to say that, you know, what she did was justified, because, you know, no. But 4 death penalties, and you're talking, you know, that Henry Lee Lucas had even, if you know him, he was the first of the 70s serial killer profile. They didn't have profiles for serial killers, and he was the first one that they gained a profile on. The man that lied about killing, raping, whatever, 600 women, but actually, you know, when it really come down to logistics, he had only killed 13 women, including his mum. Which, that's where it all stemmed from. Again, you know, not justified, but it started to make sense why he was so twisted. So, even Henry Lee Lucas didn't get 4 death penalties for that. And they could have given him 4 death penalties. So, you know, when you think about the people that we know, so Richard Rodriguez was a dirty little motherfucker. He was, you can't even profile him as the average serial killer, because Richard Rodriguez, usually most serial killers, they follow a pattern. They have a pattern with what they do and how they do it. And that's, you know, for whatever reasons to do with themselves. That's not to do with us. So, Richard Rodriguez, he, you know, it's almost like, dependent upon his mood, would depend on if he would rape someone, or how he would kill them. You know, whether it be with his bare hands, or with a gun, or, you know, like, he did some really weird shit, like, you know, things that these days people wouldn't even conceive of. It's all, oh my god, evidence, you know, I need to get rid of the evidence. This motherfucker, you know what I mean, it just killed a whole family upstairs, sat down in the kitchen and started eating their food, and then spat it back out on the table and walked out. Do you know what I mean? So, as much as people want to kind of give profiles of what serial killers are, I think, you know, a sociopath exists in all of us to an extent. You know, generally speaking, they generally tend to put it down to not having a part of the brain working. So the cognitive, the frontal lobe, is not working properly. You know, the actual conscience side, you know, that is what creates a sociopath, is not having that conscience, or it being damaged. And like, for example, Henry Lee Lucas had been dropped on his head when he was a kid, or hit his head a few good times as a child. So he had, like, a sociopathic essence about him, because that part of his brain was missing, yes. But that isn't to say that every serial killer is the same. So, anyway, with Aileen Wuornos, she got 4 death penalties, and obviously she was pissed. People coming out the woodwork, you know, trying to get a piece of the pie, because then, if any of you've seen the actual documentaries of her, well, while she is in prison, waiting on death row, There was a documentary crew following her about. And there was people, like I say, her family and stuff, and they were trying to get a piece of the pie. Even police officers that were surrounded, that were in the custody. Well, Aileen was in the custody of. They tried to get wheeze their little way in, on for a movie. Like, as soon as people started talking, there's going to be a movie, and like her family, I want to be involved, I want to do this, yet they didn't give a flying fuck about her. And she made that clear. And I mean, as much as Aileen became whatever you want to say she become, I think part of her was a sociopath to an extent, but I don't think that was the underlining factor. I think it was, she had a lot of abuse, and it takes a lot. When you don't deal with the abuse, you get trauma. When you've got trauma, things are on repeat. So you don't, in kind of whatever situation you face, that trauma hits straight away. It can be triggered, from things that people don't even know. So, to a lot of people, Aileen seemed like a cold-blooded killer. She didn't have a soul. She was a sociopath. All these things, but it wasn't as simple as that, really. I mean, yes, her behaviour became erratic, but again, like I say, they had labelled her to be the first female serial killer, which to me was ridiculous, to be honest with you. She did kill 7 men, yes, but Richard Rodriguez killed at least 50 people, do you know what I mean? So it's not... And he did it in the most heinously disgusting of ways as well, which, you know what I mean? And he didn't even get 4 death penalties. So, anyway, so after she got 4 death penalties, she then realised that the motherfucker attorney she needed to get rid of. So, and she needed new representation because, again, I say there are other, like behind the scenes of her while she's still going through this process. They're demanding a retrial, because it wasn't fair, because the guy that represented her, I found it absolutely hilarious, and so did she, actually, in the courtroom. The gentleman that she got rid of, he was put on the stand, and like I say, this was because she felt that she was unfairly punished, and that this guy didn't know what he was doing, and they had to prove this point by basically having a little mini trial, and it consisted of this ex-attorney being put on the stand, because what they were saying is, what had happened was he smoked a good few spliffs before he would go and see her, and then speak strategies, or before he went in the courtroom with her. So what they're saying is that everything that he did wasn't of sound mind, that he was high. So that then happened, and this was like in 1992 at this point. So she felt, she was unfairly tried, and so they proved that this guy did actually do it. You have to watch it, it's actually really hilarious, because the guy even changes his top so he don't stink of weed. So it was brought to the court's attention that obviously, this is something that needs to be considered. But having said that, behind the scenes, even after that as well, she did turn around and she said, look, I'm going to die. And she was sent to lethal injection in 2002. So she was on death row for like 10, 11 years. Yeah, and so she did actually admit that in the first trial, because she said that, because she knew it was what it was, that was it. She knew that she was awaiting her death. So she came clean and she said, you know, everything I did say in the first trial, you know, of it being self-defense, and all of this other personal stuff, she was like, yeah, I did lie. So, yeah, and she kind of came clean with this because she said that once she hits her death penalty moment, she did not want to be damned, basically. So this is something that she admitted on camera, which is available for you to watch, actually. You know, you can probably find it anywhere on the internet if you really wanted to, if you're that curious. But, you know, so again, you know, people are going to then think, well, okay, well, she is a cold-blooded murderer. She did what she had to do to survive, basically. She had no money, and this was, you know, these were men that were looking for a prostitute, you know, and she'd had a lot of abuse, so, you know, she'd given up being a prostitute, I think, at this point, because she'd met her lover, because they even put her lover on trial, and to watch, like, she was heartbroken, absolutely heartbroken, some of the things that, you know, she'd seen her lover say, and I can't imagine how it would feel, you know, when you love someone so much and they convince you that they love you so much that then there they are on the opposing side against you. So not only do you lose your free will, you know, she lost her love in that moment too. She lost everything, you know, she didn't have a family. She didn't. They were assholes, absolute assholes. I mean, what kind of brother has sex with you? Do you know what I mean? These are all things that people don't think about. But again, Aileen Wuornos, you know, she gained a lot of media. She really, really did. She was one of the people that gained that media, which made her look worse. But I am not going to lie. Like I say, if you do watch the behind the scenes footage of her, you know, in prison, whatnot, you know, like I say, she does admit to them. And, you know, to some, you'd be like, well, she's just nuts. Do you know what I mean? There obviously is something wrong with her. Yeah, but people have issues. Everyone has issues. Do you know what I mean? And there's a lot of things that people do that we don't know about. And just because they're not on the media doesn't mean to say they don't happen. You know? So, you know, even in this day and age now, there have been serial rapists, other serial killers, you know, that have killed in such fucked up ways that it's just ridiculous. I gave you an example of one, I think I may have mentioned, of a female killing her husband when they got into a confrontation, and she cut off his head, arms and legs, so separated everything from his torso. They still didn't find his head, legs and arms though. They found his torso, but not the rest of him. And before it hit trial, she took a plea deal. And the plea deal was for 15 years. That's it. So you tell me, does that make sense? You know what I mean? When you do things like that, that is a violation of somebody's body. You know, it's an absolute violation. So, you do, if you do things like that as a serial killer or someone that's killed someone, they will charge you with that straight away. That will go on top of your sentence. Whereas, like I say to you, Aileen Wuornos didn't do anything like that. She just literally just shot these men, and like I say, there's pretty much a good few people out there that have done some really fucked up shit, and it doesn't make any sense when you're thinking about our system now and our system then. DNA is something that can easily be tampered with. Alibis can easily be made. People don't really, they only, the things that you see and hear on TV, like the news and stuff, they're all things that they want you to hear. They're not things that we need to hear. And that's the truth. There's a lot of things that happen behind closed doors that we will never know, because it's about keeping us under control. So this is exactly what happens in the justice system. You can get coppers that have, that they just don't like you, so they'll just make your life a living hell for no goddamn reason. Do you know what I mean? Like, and you haven't done a single thing wrong. It's disgusting, really. It's disgusting, the power that some of these people can wield. They don't deserve that power, in my opinion. They don't at all. And unfortunately, that's how it's ended up. But yeah, so I don't believe that Aileen Wuornos deserved in 4 death penalties, because, like I say, for all the killers that I know, and all the serial rapists, the paedophiles, even paedophiles don't even get that many years that I've seen. And there was one guy that had touched about 250 girls, and he was a gymnast. He was training young girls to be professional gymnasts, and yeah, not even this motherfucker got what she got. So you tell me, where's the logic, where's the sense, where's the understanding there? This guy didn't get put on death row for touching 250 kids. Are you nuts? You really got to think about these things. Like I say, the O.J. Simpson case. We all know he killed his motherfucking wife. I mean, come on. But so Aileen Wuornos, she got what she did. She still got the death penalty, like I say, in 2002. Just it's easy to judge, but just try not to, because when you judge something or someone, it doesn't give you a full view of everything that you need to know of and see, to try and understand certain things. But yeah, if you are as curious as I am, then absolutely check out her documentaries. And because there are books on her as well, like I say, she's all over the internet, and so on and so forth. So, but yeah, so have a think about actually how Aileen Wuornos was treated and what she got, in comparison to, say, that woman I gave you an example of with her husband. Yes, okay, we already know the facts. I told you she killed her husband, but what she did to the body was, took it to another level. Even people that have murdered more than Aileen Wuornos did, they didn't even get a death penalty. So, and yeah. So, if you've got any questions, again, just leave a comment or send me a message, and we'll go from there.